Hello everyone, this is Leo from the Monkeys Making Misplaced channel. Today we're just going to do a quick video ranking the 6 divine skills that we received. Not really doing enough based off of results or anything like that, although there is some Japanese results coming in. We don't really have results for 3 of these skills, right? Yes, 3 of these skills. So no real way to give you I'm just going to give you my thoughts on them, I guess, and then we'll rank them at the end. But let's just get into this so we have just a quick video. So the first one we're going to talk about is Vanguard, the Dragon Empire divine skill user. Its divine skill says, auto Vanguard circle, at the end of battle this unit attacked a grade 3 or greater unit. If your opponent's damage zone has 4 more cards and this unit attacked 2 or more times, you can counterblast 1, stand it, and it gets drive +2 until end of turn. So this divine skill synergizes with Vargas's first ability, because Vargas will just attack or restand twice, or attack twice, excuse me. It attacks twice just off of its first ability, right? Hopefully you're pressuring. If you're going second, this can give you an insanely strong aggro turn where you swing 3 times, hopefully just disrupting your opponent's hand. Personally, I think this is probably one of the better divine skills, if not the best one. But it is cheap, it doesn't cost much, it is very easily doable, right? Your opponent would have to either overguard early game to just not let this go off, which means, hey, they're using their cards to they're not keeping cards in hand, which means that as the game goes on, they might have to keep being at a deficit in card advantage, as well as gaining the drive back. So unlike Vargas's first restand ability where he loses 2 and just gets another swing in, with this one he gains that 2 back, so he has a swing with 2 drives, a swing with 0 drives, and then a swing with 2 drives again, which means that you get some insane pressure, right? I think personally right now Vargas is number 1 as far as divine skills. Then let's talk about the main character's divine skill, which is the one for Fated One of Miracles, Raziel. This one's got the ability that says, on Vanguard circle, act, Soul Blast 1, return all critical from your drop to the deck, shuffle it, and it gets an extra drive until end of turn. Then, until the end of this fight, you cannot ride units without Raziel in their card names, and you get, when your damage check reveals a trigger unit other than heal, if your damage zone has 5 or more cards, choose a card from your damage zone, heal it, and you lose this ability. So you get to cycle in all your criticals, which means you can guard very aggressively early on if you're using criticals, because you're just going to be able to put them back. If they're already outside your deck, even better, right? You've already technically lost them. Let's say you drew them or whatever. This gives you a way to just guard early, keep your damage low, and then just return these to fill your deck with even more trigger units. And then you get a little buffer for losing the game. Instead of needing a heal as a 6 damage, now you can use anything like the draw triggers, your front triggers, right, your critical triggers, anything of that you might be playing in this deck. The one-time extra drive is probably nice, right? You're gonna pop this skill off probably right away, but I could see some people holding it off for at least their second grade 3 ride if they think that they're at high enough life total, or not had a high life total. Been playing Magic a little bit too much. At low enough damage that they can take some extra damage next turn, or maybe guard with, maybe they've got an excess of criticals. So I could see some argument for saving it for your second grade 3 ride, although, right, we got to remember that second grade 3 ride isn't guaranteed. But if you see that you're in a very favorable position, then I would say, yeah, go for that second turn activation. Personally, I think this one's also very good. It's not game breaking, but it is I guess like a safety net, right? If you're more of a defensive player, this is perfect, because you just get to be like, well, I can be a little bit more risky with that 6 damage if I really need to, because I have a bigger leeway for taking that damage and maybe being a bit more risk, maybe calling more cards, risking a little bit more, right? So I think Raziel is pretty good. I don't think it's better than Varga. I would definitely put this under Varga for right now. Don't know exactly where. I think Varga is definitely the front runner for divine skill so far, but I think this Raziel skill might resonate with certain players, and we have seen that both Varga and Raziel have been putting out results in Japan, so they're both definitely good decks, right? Then we move on to the third divine skill, the one for Lyrical Monasterio, and that is Chris Rain. I think this is the worst one, and I don't think it's the worst one for the reason that you might think. Well, so let's read it first of all. So auto on Vanguard circle, at the end of battle this unit attacked a grade 3 or greater unit, You return all your rearguards to hand, choose up to 1 unit card from your hand, call it to rearguard circle, and until end of turn, increase or decrease that unit's power and critical to match this unit's, right? And if this deck had access to a 4th attack outside of this, right? I haven't looked at many Chris Rain's lists, but from what I've seen, the only way to get that 4th attack is off of this Divine Skill. It's kind of rough. If you're going to be a 3 attack deck, your first ability has to be incredibly good, right? And I don't think Chris Rain's is that great. The options of either gaining a crit, gaining 15, or energy charging 3, that's not great. I wish this deck, or I wish this unit had another ability, but it already is a wall of text. So I understand maybe Bushiroad not wanting to put more text on the card, but I just think that if they had maybe changed this, because this is the least Divine Skill feeling, or Divine Skill feeling skill out of all of them, even the ones later on, this one just feels like this could just be a regular ability. You know, I guess it has no real cost. You get to keep all your cards. You can commit to the board, but it isn't anything crazy, right? And neither Raziel and Vargas weren't anything too crazy either, but this just feels like, you know, a skill we would see in like set 4, set 5 of Overdress, right? Just a bounce card. I mean, this is just Kairi's ability, right? Sure, Kairi doesn't return all your rearguards to hand, but she does return 2, or the grade 4 one does at least. So the grade 4 will just return 2 rearguards to your hand and then allow you to call 2. This one just allows you to call 1. This is a once per game ability. I feel like they maybe are trying to lower the power level of this card, maybe because it's generic. A lot of the support it's going to be playing are going to be generic cards, and Lyrical does have a abundance of good generic cards, but they don't have a way to get a multi-attack in like a generic play style, I guess. So fortunately, I think Chris Rain is going to be bottom for me. So right now we have got Varga, Raziel, and then Chris Rain. Although Chris Rain I think is just going to keep going to the bottom each time. But let's move on to the other Divine Skill that we got in set 1, and that being Welstra Blitz Arms. So this is the deck that I'm most interested in playing out of the first Divine set. This and like Varga, Cat's more interested in playing Raziel and Chris Rain. But personally, I love the product deck. I love the Blitz deck, and Welstra's Divine Skill is perfect in my opinion. It's nothing crazy. They could have definitely, with how good the products are, they could have definitely broken this card and made it something that would have been, you know, maybe a little bit too strong. But I think they hit the nail on the head with just a perfectly good effect that feels worth as like a one-time use in this strategy. So it's just a Vanguard Circle, Counterblast 1, choose 2 products with different card names from your hand, put them into the order zone, and if you put 2 cards, you choose a product from your order zone and you operate it. So this is really good in my opinion. You get to just put out there 2 of the new satellite product, or you get to put a Freischütz Maximum, right? Which the Freischütz, it's one that you can't play normally from hand, so this would just let you put them on there, and then you get to operate one of them for free. So you just get to either, you know, shoot a rear guard and then give your opponent's Vanguard -5. So that's perfect. Or you get to use a satellite to energy charge and get extra damage in. This is perfect. This is exactly what I think the deck needs. And then it now being not completely lenient on CB and Soul is going to make this deck so much better, with Velstra's main ability just being a Energy Blast 2 is incredible. It's a godsend in my opinion, because the product deck was so resource intensive prior to this, and now the ability to just be like, hey, I'm just going to put 2 of these, you shoot this off right away. I don't think there's a scenario where you hold it unless you don't have the 2, but the right line kind of gives it to you, so there's nothing really there. You should have it pretty easily. I think this is better than Chris Rain. I don't know whether this is better than Raziel. I think it is better than Raziel, but it'd be a tie for me currently. I think let's get through the rest of the list, and then we'll decide better at the end once we've seen all of them. But now let's move on to the ones from set 2. These we haven't seen any results for, because the set I don't believe is out yet in Japan, so we've got no testing on it. We've just got the skills revealed. So the first one we have is a Dark States for Blankmeyer. This is a divine skill that I think is actually a very interesting card design. It says auto Vanguard Circle at the beginning of the guard step of the battle this unit attacked. If your bind zone has 8 or more face stun cards, you may have this unit gain critical +1 until end of turn. If you do, your opponent cannot call or play sentinels from hand until end of turn. Choose one of your opponent's vanguards, and until end of your opponent's next turn, all of your opponents and that unit's abilities are nullified. Persona Ride will still activate. So this is so cool. A ability, just erasing ability. The ability erasing ability. Yes. It gains a critical. It has a guard restriction, and you can essentially get rid of. You can erase Raziel's divine skill with this, because Raziel gives you the ability of when your damage check reveals a trigger unit other than heal. Right, that is an ability given to you as the player, and Blind Admire would erase that ability until end of turn. Right, until the end of your turn. So you wouldn't have that ability. Obviously, it wouldn't really matter during your turn, but since it's on the swing of Blankmire, if he swings first, you have to guard it. Right now your criticals won't save you, your draws won't save you, your fronts won't save you. You'd have to get the heal, or you'd have to get the over trigger. Right, that's one of the interactions. We also have the new Angel Ladder order, which also gives you the ability. I'll try to put it here on screen, but it gives you that ability, so you would lose out on that ability as well, which is very cool. If you don't have a Persona Ride, a Persona Ride, you just have a Vanguard that has nothing, and you're just kind of hoping that you can just turn sideways pretty much. Obviously, getting Persona Rides is very, very common, right? But this is probably not going to be on your first grade 3 turn. It's probably going to be on your second, just based on the cards or the support that surrounds Blankmire. This deck isn't a 3 attack deck just because of this ability. It has a 4th attack, I believe, in the support surrounding Blankmire, so that's pretty good. This deck isn't like Chris Rain, where it'll just lose out on a 4th attack. I definitely think this one's very good. I think, again, we're putting it above Chris Rain, and I don't know if it's better than Raziel and Welstra. I think it might be. I think this ability is just so interesting, and it's so cool. If they expand on this even more, then I could definitely see Blankmire being after Varga. But for right now, off of what we haven't seen any testing on it, right? We haven't seen any tournament results, anything like that. Japan hasn't gotten these cards to play with, so we don't really know how it deals or how it works in tournament settings. So right now we don't know, but personally I do think it's better than Raziel and Blitzarm. Blitzarms. But let's move on to the next one. We have Zorga Nadir, with its divine skill saying that when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, cost Soul Blast on, choose a column, and send all of your rear guards in that column. At the end of turn, retire those units. So this is another extra attack divine skill, and I do understand that. I think Bushiroad wants to be careful with giving Zorga a 4th attack, or multi-attack, because of just how strong both the orders it's had and the orders it's gained and the units it's gained, that maybe they're a little scared. But I don't know, I felt like maybe for the divine skill it could have been something a little bit more interesting. Maybe they could have done, like, you're able to play 4 orders in a turn, which I know sounds crazy, but it would be a one-time thing, so you'd have one giant turn, right? You'd have your Alchemagic could be much more interesting, right? You get to play 4 orders, right? And you'd be able to bind 3 from your drop and then play the one from hand, just combining the cost of all 4. I think that could have been much more interesting, and then just giving this restanding ability maybe to the just as a regular ability for Zorga. But I do believe that Bushiroad is a little scared to give Zorga a multi-attack just because of how good it is without it. I mean, we've seen that Zorga Mask gained a 4th attack, and it was able to compete at a much more consistent level than both prior Zorgas, right? I'm not going to say Zorga has never been good without the 4th attack. I think it is good, but Zorga Mask gained access to that 4th attack definitely bumped it up an insane amount. So I feel like that's why we got this kind of divine skill. Definitely better than Chris Rain. I don't think it's better than the others, but it is definitely better than Chris Rain. The one-time restanding rearguard divine skill, not great in my opinion, but if you can pressure, it's definitely very good. Something that I don't think Chris Rain is going to have. Zorga doesn't have to play a bunch of different named units. It can just play a bunch of really good units. It's got support all the way from set 1, so Zorga definitely beats out Chris Rain, but I do think both Welstra, Raziel, and Blindmere are way better. But let's move on to the last one and the surprising one, which was the Fated One of Time, Lael Amorta. I thought there was only going to be, 6 divine skills, right? The main 6 nations, Dragon Empire, Dark States, Brandgate, Keter Sanctuary, Lyrical, and Starkea. And I thought that was it. And then they were like, hey, we actually have one more, and it's Keter again. And the divine skill isn't very interesting, right? It's not the most interesting divine skill, but the unit surrounding it is much more interesting. Let's rate the divine skill first. It says, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is greater or greater, choose a card with the same card name as this unit from your drop. You may ride it as stand. If you rode, that unit gets strive -1 until end of turn. So you get you get to re-ride. And then for specifically for this one, we have to look at the other 2 abilities just because they are key to understanding the divine skill maybe a bit more. So Lael has 2 other abilities. The first one is on Vanguard. When she attacks, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your rear guards, bind it, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as that card, call it to rear guard, and shuffle your deck. So just, guaranteed 4th attack. And then with the divine skill, you will have both a 5th and 6th attack. Both a 5th and a 6th attack, because you'll re-ride, and then you'll use the first ability again to bind another rear guard, get another attack. So you have 6 attacks in one turn, which is incredible. With having a consistent 4 attacks on other turns, that means you're going to be doing pretty well for yourself. But then there's one more skill, and this is the skill that I think makes this card way more interesting than it should be. But it's when this unit is put on Guardian Circle, discard a card from hand and put 2 cards from the bind zone on the bottom of the deck in any order. Choose one of your units with Fated One in its card name, and it cannot be hit until end of that battle. So this gives you access to 8 PGs in your deck if you're playing Raziel, right? If you're playing Raziel, you have 8. If you're playing Lael, you only have 7, because you're 3 that you would play normally, and then your 4 regular PGs. But the added effect of just being able to put this in Raziel means that you could find some cards to bind, or find some cards that bind and then get an extra PG. I don't know if you can bind in Keter. I should have looked into that. Well, I'll have cards on screen if there is some. But for now, I think that ability is so cool. In the Lael deck, that's incredible. You get to just put her on Guardian Circle, which will put her on drop, which will fuel your divine skill, which means you don't even have to discard her for riding or anything like that. You can just, use her to guard a attack, and then you're good, right? Any guard restriction units that say you can't use raid 1s to guard get completely ignored by this ability, right? Anything that says you can't use sentinels to guard would also be voided by this ability, because it's not a sentinel. It is just an ability that makes it so that your Fated One can't be hit, right? It is so versatile in its usability of that second ability. But however, that is not the divine skill. The divine skill is just a re-standing thing. But when we look at it and it gives you access to 6 attacks, I think this one's better than the others as well. So I think currently my list for the divine skills is Varga, Lael, Blindmere, Raziel, Welstra, Zorga, and Chris Rain. Obviously, you can disagree with me on that. I think even Kat might disagree with me on that. But I definitely, as you can see, I definitely don't like the Zorga and the Chris Rain. Just I get a 4th attack once per game abilities. I feel like the units themselves are very cool. Zorga's always been an interesting deck. Chris Rain is an interesting take on Highlander, but their divine skills just don't feel divine, in my opinion. They just feel like a regular just ability that could be put on any other unit, and you wouldn't even look at it twice, right? So they're pretty boring abilities. They're pretty underwhelming. Sure, the strategies that they are in can maybe take full advantage of them, but in Chris Rain's case, that might not be the greatest. I mean, Zorga's case, that's going to be great. You get a 4th attack that gets boosted, that gets its booster as well, so you can put out some insane power. but I just think Vargas and Lyle being able to just get a restanding Vanguard essentially with extra drives, so much better. Both Vargas and Lyle both have access to multi-attack outside of their divine skills. I mean, Vargas can restand, as well as having units that can come back from drop when they're retired, which means you get access to a bunch of attacks. Lyle, I'm not so sure on her support, but she gets access to a fourth attack just on her regular abilities, so it's perfect. Raziel has access to multi-attack on his normal abilities. Welsha has access to multi-attack thanks to his products. Blangmeyer has access to multi-attack because of his supporting units. But I definitely want to hear your guys' list. I think this is definitely an interesting topic. I like that we've now gotten all of them, so we can kind of move forward into the game and see if Bushiroad did a good job of kind of making these skills. I think I'm okay with these skills. I don't think any of them are too busted, right? I definitely think there are strong ones, but I don't think they're strong because of the divine skill. I think they're strong because of the dex construction, right? I definitely think Varga has both a strong divine skill and a strong supporting unit cast, so they've got a very good supporting unit. Its first ability just being a guaranteed restand, I think that's all good. Blangmeyer's got very good supporting units as well as a very good main ability. Lyle, same thing. Raziel, same thing. Welsha's got a wealth of old support to lean back on. So does Sorga, with I think Chris Strain being unfortunately the one that's left most behind. Her supporting units weren't incredible. They were just some power units, which is cool, but fortunately not what she really needed. But with that, I'll leave you guys, and please do tell me. Please call me out if you think my list is incredibly off. I can understand if it is, but thank you all for watching. This has been Leo. I'll see you all on Cry.